It's hot in the East County, but that's not stopping hikers.
The origins of the advisory bike lanes in the city of San Diego. No public vote required.
The Alliance of Chinese Americans San Diego is protesting the officer-involved shooting death of Dr. Yang Li.
A local judge you may know from several high-profile cases we've covered makes a personal ruling. He says it's time to retire.
And behind every Oscar and Grammy are the writers who wrote the words.
CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts now.
We're reminding you to try and stay cool and drink plenty of water. A heat advisory is in effect tonight. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Carla Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. It really felt more like July today than April, with high temperatures, several heat records broken, and windy and dry conditions keeping firefighters on alert. Fire crews quickly put out a brush fire in the Miramar Ranch area. Our Tim Blodgett will talk about the fire danger and ways to keep yourself, your family, and your pets safe if you're out in the heat.
First, though, let's check in with Carrie Lane. She's in for Carlene tonight and is here early with a first look at what's happening outside right now. Carrie?
Yeah, good evening. Temperatures very warm today. In fact, many places actually broke records, such as Chula Vista, El Cajon, Oceanside topped out at 98 degrees today, Carlsbad 95. So we were expecting some records to be broken. And along the beaches, it was much warmer today than what we saw yesterday. That is due to the Santa Ana winds that are dragging the heat all the way to the coastline. We were in the mid 80s. Look at right now, Carlsbad 87. We're still in the 90s at 6 o'clock tonight. 92 in Poway, Escondido 95. Upper 80s in Ramona. The mountains are beautiful, 72, the desert 94. We're going to see these warm conditions continue through tomorrow. We're also going to see the winds pick back up tomorrow, but not as strong as today. Now, the Santa Ana conditions will actually start to break down as we get into Friday night and Saturday, and a cooling is on the way. I'll tell you just how much we're going to cool off in just a bit. But first, the high heat hit hardest the East County today with temperatures recorded in the mid-90s. CBS Tim Blodgett spoke with some hikers and who thrive in these conditions.
With temperatures reaching into the 90s this afternoon and high winds blowing throughout the county, today's weather made it a perfect combination for fire conditions. Around 2:30, a small brush fire broke out on Scripps Poway Parkway. Crews and Copter 3 arrived quickly for the 3/4 of an acre burn. No injuries or damages were reported. Despite those dangerous conditions, hikers who thrive off the heat were loving today's weather. With the sun nearly at its peak, we met up with Mike at Poway's Iron Mountain Trailhead this afternoon.
I pretty much grew up here, and the trail is one of the best in San Diego. It's just about the right difficulty and a right time. It's about a 2-hour hike up and down, and not too difficult, but not too easy.
No matter how steep the slope is on the East County mountain, the blistering heat that has arrived will no doubt make things more difficult for the handful of hikers braving the ascent. But for Anthony Biondo, these are exactly the kind of conditions he was looking for.
I actually race desert, long distance desert racing, and mountain biking, stuff like that, so it's good training. If I can push myself in this, then when it's 70 degrees out, it'll be like a cakewalk.
While the heat is expected to continue throughout the day and into tomorrow, high winds today brought some relief for those under the sun. With the up and down temperatures that we've been experiencing lately, it's a good reminder that there is always something to do in San Diego. No matter the weather, just be sure to prepare before heading out into the elements.
You get everything in San Diego. So you got the beach, the mountains, and you can go to the snow, mountain bike, race in the desert. Sunshine tack's pretty crazy, but I'll take it.
Well, there's something you certainly don't want to bring on these trails, and that's your dog. He's wearing a fur coat, not you. But also, be sure to bring plenty of water. I'll send things back to you in the studio.
We are less than an hour away from the start of the season for the San Diego Padres. Tonight, they're on the road facing the Diamondbacks in Arizona.
Even though the team is away for opening day, fans here at home are still celebrating at Petco Park. The park's showing the game on the big screen for a Fan Fest road opener watch party. There's more to do than just watch the game. There's activities for kids and grown-ups as well. We'll bring you there live coming up in sports in our next half hour.
CBS 8 is working to get answers to your questions about the so-called advisory bike lanes here in San Diego that we first told you about on Monday.
Yeah, they're confusing. Public backlash has caused the city to at least temporarily stop installing the design, which requires drivers to share a center lane. As CBS 8's David Goffredson reports, the idea for the new bike lanes first surfaced at a city board meeting a year ago.
What are these called? They can be called advisory bike lanes.
The idea for advisory bike lanes originated at a City of San Diego Mobility Board meeting in May of last year.
And this is just one example of an advisory bike lane that will be implemented on Hancock Street.
Transportation Department Manager Everett Hauser explained during the meeting the bike lanes are used in Europe and could be deployed in San Diego on Hancock Street near the airport.
Is Hancock one-way or two-way for cars?
It's two-way.
Okay, so if the cars are coming at each other, they both have to slide into the bike lane shoulder on both sides?
Correct.
Instead of Hancock Street, the city decided to install the bike lanes in Mira Mesa, where cars traveling in opposite directions share a single center lane.
Gold Coast up in Mira Mesa is an identified bike route.
The advisory bike lanes were apparently painted on Gold Coast Drive with no public comment and no public vote.
I've always been a fan, so I am in favor of these.
Nicole Burgess sits on the City Mobility Board. She said the Traffic Department presented the idea during a non-action informational staff report.
They are the traffic engineers that we, as taxpayers, were paying for them to make the correct decisions. And I believe that the Mobility Board believed that this was a good intended direction.
Burgess is also the founder of Bike Walk San Diego.
If we rant and rave over something that's trying to make our city safer and our neighborhoods quieter and calmer, we got some problems, right?
She says advisory bike lanes will make cars go slower, reduce crashes, and drivers will learn to yield right of way.
This is something super minor. So if we can't deal with this, you better just put your seatbelts on and hold on, because we're in for a lot worse than a little bit pain on the ground and a little bit of accepting that other people are going to be on the road and that we're actually going to enjoy a bike ride next to a person that's in a car.
And neighbors in Mira Mesa are worried that the shared center lane will lead to head-on collisions, especially at night. CBS 8 reached out to the City of San Diego asking why these new bike lanes were never voted on in a public meeting, but the city has not responded. We'll keep working for you to get answers.
People have a lot of questions still, David, even after that. Don't forget, here at CBS 8, we're working for you. If there's a story you'd like us to look into, please email us at yourstories@cbs8.com.
Anger and calls for justice from the Chinese American community and its supporters after officers shot and killed 47-year-old Yan Li. They're calling for an independent investigation and better de-escalation tactics involving mental health issues.
Back in March, after officers forced their way into her home while serving an eviction notice, Lee stabbed one of them. She was shot and killed. The officer did recover. CBS 8's Abby Alford reports on what activists want to see happen here and where the investigation stands tonight.
The Alliance of Chinese American San Diego is protesting the officer-involved shooting death of Dr. Yang Li. They say although she had shown a weapon, her death could have been prevented.
I got stabbed!
Watching a San Diego police canine officer getting stabbed and a 47-year-old woman shot and killed by law enforcement from the view of a deputy-worn body camera may be difficult to watch. It happened on March 3rd inside an apartment complex in Little Italy when deputies were serving an eviction notice to Yan Li.
Here's a notice to evict. Okay.
What?
It's your notice for. Put the knife down right now, or I'm gonna.
This kind of language necessary. Those kind of that word definitely escalate the situation.
Sunny Rickard represents the Alliance of Chinese American San Diego. She says officers had been called to Lee's home in the past for mental health issues.
Did Dr. Li have to die?
The body camera video shows Lee holding a knife, accusing Deputy Jason Bunch of being a fake police officer, refusing his commands and then throwing the eviction notice at him.
I am not a fake police officer. Drop the knife.
Then she retreated back to her home and she locked her door. She doesn't at least appear, did not pose any imminent public threat anymore.
San Diego police were called for backup. That night, Lieutenant Matt Dobbs says that there was a prior incident with Lee the day before the shooting.
One of the employees of the complex, that same female had threatened a male maintenance worker with a knife the previous day.
Police still needed to serve the eviction notice. They went back up to Lee's apartment and made entry with a manager's key. Video shows Lee is still holding the knife and an officer and deputy fired beanbags at her. That's when Lee charges forward with the knife and stabs the canine handler, prompting 3 deputies and a canine officer to open fire. Retired SDPD SWAT Commander Ray Shea says shooting someone is the last resort.
Unfortunately, the deputies at that point run out of options.
But Lee's supporters say that law enforcement acted too quickly. The psychological emergency response team known as PERT was called, but officers went into the apartment before they arrived. Now the Alliance is calling for an independent investigation.
Mental illness is not a crime.
Once the San Diego Police Department Homicide Unit finishes its investigation, it'll then be handed over to the DA's office, who will determine whether or not this is a justified shooting.
Thank you, Abby. The San Diego Police Department issued a statement. In summary, it says it understands the community's concerns and questions, but cannot comment because it points out it is still an active investigation.